homemade traditional Peruvian dessert, alfajores, basket of ham, beef, turkey, veggie gourmet sandwiches. Call Giveaways Catering, phone number 778-245-3007.
Oh, I cannot imagine this country without immigrants. I mean, Canada is a country of immigrants. And I tell you, I'm always just fascinated when I meet people from all over the world.
Let me talk a little bit about some of the most common questions that you're going to be asked and some strategies for how to answer them.
Welcome to Swaziland, a country that proudly maintains its traditions, giving visitors an authentic African experience in a safe and stable environment.
Welcome to the Immigrant Magazine's program. I am Fabiola Palomino, your host. Before starting this episode 157, I have an important information for you. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased more than any other GA country, primarily due to international migration. Canada government predicts that by 2017, Canada's immigrant population could reach between 7 million and 9.3 million in areas such as Toronto and Vancouver. About this and more, we are going to talk with Wazi Dlamini-Kapenda. She is from Swaziland and she's living in Canada since 1995. Wazi Dlamini-Kapenda is our guest on our Tell Us Your Story segment, her interview, second part.
I consider myself very lucky because by the time I came to Canada, I already have credentials from the US, which were actually recognized here in Canada. So I never really had to struggle to have my credentials recognized as a public health specialist. And so when I came here, my first jobs actually was to do public health education, mainly in the area of HIV/AIDS, because that's what I was working on when I was in Swaziland. And so I worked for different organizations doing HIV/AIDS education, and also did some work for the Center for Disease Control here in BC. And so while I was doing that, I had an opportunity because I was also working with Mosaic, working with immigrant women, offering workshops and talking about how to settle here in Canada, the things that you need to do to make sure that you feel at home here. So I had an opportunity through a person I used to work with at Mosaic, at Mosaic, called Victor Porter, who told me about a woman called Debbie Bell that wanted a group of women to go to Mexico with her to look at programs in Tijuana, and if those programs could be programs that could be transferable here in BC. Anyway, so I had an opportunity to go on that trip, and Blanca actually was also on that trip. And we looked at different programs, and one of the programs that we saw was HIPPY. And we, as women that were on that trip, decided that we wanted HIPPY here in Canada. It was a great program. HIPPY, of course, stands for Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters. And so when we came back to Vancouver, we worked with Debbie, who worked at Simon Fraser University at that time, to say that we need that program here in Canada. So how do we get it? So HIPPY has been in Canada now for 15 years. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be the first HIPPY coordinator here in Canada, and the first site ran out of Britannia as a partnership between Britannia Community Center, Simon Fraser University, and the National Council of Jewish Women. And since then, it's in 5 provinces across Canada, and for a total of 23 sites in Canada. So in our national organization, which is based in Vancouver, we've got our CEO, Debbie Bell is our CEO in HIPPY Canada, and then we've got 2 streams. We've got Aboriginal HIPPY and Multicultural HIPPY, and I'm the manager of Multicultural HIPPY. And I work mainly with immigrant serving organizations throughout Canada, and I support and I develop partnerships with those organizations and talk to them about HIPPY, the benefits of the program, and why we think this is one of the programs they could offer to their clientele of new immigrants. So the HIPPY program basically is a program that recognizes the parent, especially the mother that we're working with in most cases, as the first and the best teacher of their child. So the organizations themselves, they hire home visitors and a coordinator to run the HIPPY program. And the home visitors go into the home and sit down with the parent and come with a book and a weekly activity packet, sit down with the mother, teaches the mother on how to do those activities, and leave the activities with the mother, and the mother in turn teaches the child for 15 to 20 minutes a day. So HIPPY is a 30-week program with a great curriculum that was developed by a woman called Dr. Avima Lombard almost 40-something years ago in Israel. It is in about 12 to 15 countries around the world, and it has great outcomes. It really, you can see the growth in that family and the change in that family as they continue with the program. I have to say I've always been one of those people that think that we need to be putting more resources into the K-12 education. I think the teachers do a great job, but they've got very limited resources, and that impacts their work with the children. I have to say, in my family, for instance, I have 2 children. My son really enjoyed his schooling and high school, but my daughter, on the other hand, really didn't have such a great time with a high school education, and actually I think she's glad it's over and she's done with high school. But I have to say that the post-secondary education is excellent. My son loves his university, loves being in I think he loves being in a smaller institution, because Capilano is not a big university like the others. So I think he likes the intimacy of getting to know his professors and really having that relationship with them. I feel very blessed with my job. I see such pride and joy in the parents and their children as they work on the HIPPY program, and the parents just recognizing how smart their children are, and that I am the teacher. I'm teaching my child. I'm preparing my child for school. And as I go around the country, for instance, attending some group meetings and graduation every year, when they finish the 30 weeks every year, I just think, wow. And the parents describing how much their children have learned and how much they've grown themselves as a parent. And I think also as immigrants, as we know, that the school system here really requires you to be a partner in your child's education. That there has to be that partnership between the teacher and the parent, and that the parent, you know, is the one that really ensures that the child does their homework and works with them to ensure that that is done. So really starting right from the beginning when the child is 3 and getting into this routine that 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, we'll be sitting and teaching each other and, you know, playing and doing some activities and reading a book, you know, building that literacy and educational environment in their home, really prepares the parent to be able to do this when their child starts school. So by the time the child starts school, that routine has been established in that family, and that family is ready for their child. So when the child comes back from school, I have homework, I say, okay, let's sit down and see what it's like, how I can help. Yeah. Oh, I cannot imagine this country without immigrants. I mean, Canada is a country of immigrants. And I tell you, I'm always just fascinated when I meet people from all over the world. And this job that I've been doing, the hippie program, has enabled me to meet people from all over the world and to really get to know some of the cultures and their interests and how people feel about things. So for me, I cannot imagine this country without immigrants. And really, wherever I look, I mean, the people are from everywhere. It's amazing to me. And I hear so many different languages. I take the train every day to go to work, and I hear different kinds of languages, and I'm the kind of person that talks to everyone. So my first question is, oh, what language is that? Where are you from? And people are always just so happy to talk about themselves, which is great to hear, yeah.
Questions and answers. What kind of questions do you have to ask or answer on a jobs interview? Employment tips with Gwen Pawlikowski. Next.
Hi, I'm Gwen Pawlikowski, and this is your Employment Tips segment. Today, let's talk about answering questions in interviews. A typical job interview is going to last between 30 and 60 minutes. Usually that's the amount of time. And there are two main types of questions that will be asked. There's kind of the standard ones that I'm sure you know, and then there are also behavioral questions. Let me talk a little bit about some of the most common questions that you're going to be asked and some strategies for how to answer them. In an interview, it's really likely that the interviewer will ask you a kind of soft, gentle question to get you started. And it's really common to be asked, tell me about yourself. And that's meant to be a kind of relaxing question, but it doesn't always feel relaxing. However, you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. You should kind of think about what you're going to say in advance, and you should plan to spend about 1 minute answering this question. And you should plan to cover 4 topics. And the 4 topics are your work, so something about your years of experience in the particular field you're applying for, and the second thing is something related to your skills, like do you have a particular skill in PowerPoint, or are you really skilled in a particular type of accounting software or something like that. The third thing you need to talk about is something about your related academic background. So a degree or a college diploma that's related to the job that you're applying for is good. And then the fourth thing is just a little something about your personality. So I often like to use things that other people have said about me. I think that's a much easier way to talk about yourself than to say I think I'm friendly, or I think I'm hardworking. It's great, I think, to use a former boss's comments about you, like something like, for instance, in the past, my supervisors have told me that I'm really easy to get along with, or my supervisors have said I'm a good team player, something like that. So something that you've heard from someone else. So those 4 points are the kind of 4 areas you need to hit in that 1 minute that you want to answer, tell me about yourself. Another question that people really struggle with in interviews is the question, what is your weakness? Or what's an area where you need to improve? This is a hard question because none of us, of course, like talking about our weaknesses. And my suggestion for this is to be authentic and absolutely tell a real, honest weakness about yourself. But not your worst one, not something that you feel really terrible about, but maybe some weakness that's kind of small, something that you've overcome, for the most part, and something that is not going to affect you in your job that you're applying for. So you want something that's maybe not a central part of the job, more off to the side, and something that you've probably overcome already. That's a good strategy. In talking about your weakness, you might also want to mention the things that you've done to overcome your weakness. So for instance, in my case, one of my weaknesses is that I sometimes underestimate the amount of time I need to do things. But I've gotten a lot better at that because I've spent some time really analyzing how long it takes me to do things. So if I know it's going to normally take me an hour to write an article or write a blog posting, I can better estimate how long it will take me to write 5 of them. Okay. So I would talk about things that I've somehow taken action to improve. Next, behavioral questions. Now these are really common in interviews, and they can be really fun and interesting to answer, or they can be really nerve-wracking. Behavioral questions are questions like, tell me about a time when you worked in a team, or tell me about a time when you didn't get a promotion. One of the difficult things about behavioral questions is that they're sometimes negative, and they're super hard to answer. Like, tell me about a time when you failed at something. That's a hard question to answer in an interview. You feel nervous, you feel stressed, and you have to tell a story about yourself and what happened to you. And again, you want to be careful which story you're choosing, and you probably want to prepare a little bit in advance for this question. So the question, tell me about a time when you failed at something, is really a brilliant opportunity to talk about how you learned a particular life lesson because you had a failure way back in your early work history. You can talk about something that went wrong and the changes that you made to make that never happen again, or to prevent that from happening. So those questions really are great opportunities to talk about what you've learned and how you're a stronger person at your job now because of those failures. Those are behavioral questions. Now, finally, a question that you'll almost always be asked at the very end of an interview is, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask us? And here you really need to have something to ask. Those are a few suggestions about answering questions during interviews. Remember that you want to show stories of your life, and you also want to be as authentic as you can, but you want to show how you've grown and how you've learned over the course of your career. This has been your employment segment, and I'm Gwen Pawlikowski.
Well, Eswatini, lapho la ngiqhamuka khona mina, it's a beautiful country. Lihle lelive laMaswati, neMaswati, they are very kind and gentle people.
Welcome to Swaziland, a country that proudly maintains its traditions, giving visitors an authentic African experience in a safe and stable environment.
Swaziland is a very special little country, easy to get around, lots to see and do, and the people are so friendly.
Swaziland is one of Africa's smallest mainland countries, but has a rich variety of landscapes. Within this spectacular environment is a wealth of exciting wildlife. First on many visitors' lists is big game, and Swaziland has plenty.
If you look around, it will tell you there's some elephants. So you can see the vegetation is completely different here.
Swaziland is one of the few countries in Africa where you can see both white and black rhino.
Yeah, it's very special. Looking also at it on the face, it looks with that smile. It is beautiful for me.
A close encounter with a rhino is something you'll never forget. In many wildlife parks, visitors have the freedom to roam where they like.
We call it the outdoor lover's paradise, and that is because you can do your self-guided hiking, mountain biking, you can go out on guided horse trails, so it's very user-friendly.
Faire du vélo et avoir un zèbre à côté, un yumpala à gauche, un zèbre à droite, c'est extraordinaire.
Swaziland is the perfect place for those who want to be at one with nature.
So peaceful, and it seems to be untouched.
Swaziland offers visitors more than stunning scenery and spectacular nature. For golf lovers, there are international standard courses in incredible surroundings. For those seeking more adrenaline-fueled excitement, the whitewater rafting trips on the Episode River will give you the ride of your life.
I would say do the White River rafting twice. That's crazy, but do it.
If you've got a head for heights, a zip wire canopy tour at the Malalocha Reserve is simply breathtaking.
The whole experience is wonderful. What more can I say? Go for it. Give it a try.
Swaziland is proud of its history and culture, which are celebrated through the year in a series of unique ceremonies and rituals. The annual Inkwala ceremony is the most sacred of them all.
Basically, it's a prayer where we thank God for the rains and ask for more rains and thank Him for the good harvest. And it is where the king will take the first bite of the fresh produce from the fields.
Something different. I've never been to a royalty in Africa ceremony before.
It's a remarkable occasion, giving a fascinating insight into Swazi culture and a fantastic opportunity to see the king and his countrymen in full ceremonial dress. It's not just at special ceremonies where the visitor will find an authentic African experience in Swaziland. Manzini is one of many towns where you'll find a huge variety of the traditional handicrafts that Swaziland is famous for.
Swazis are very talented. It's a culture that has been transferred from generation to generations, where mothers will teach their children on what to do.
With so much choice, visitors are sure to leave Swaziland with more than fantastic memories.
I didn't realize that our camera was on. Look at what happened with my guest and me. Behind the scenes, next.
So I did all my education in Swaziland, finished my high school there, and then I went to the University of Swaziland for my bachelor's degree in science. Yes, and then I came out of that university with a Bachelor of Science degree and a diploma in education. So I taught for about 2 years, and then I got a scholarship to go to the US to do my master's degree.
¿Cómo fue la palabra? Oh, ya, ahora sí. Esa puede ser una, eso puede ser. ¿Cómo era?
And a great life, really. I was loved very much. So yeah, I think that shows.
Your life as immigrant could change overnight for the better. Don't try to keep your questions or doubts without answers. Out there are many institutions and many people that can help you. You can visit our webpage at www.theimmigrantsmagazine.net a disfrutar de este rico sol en Vancouver. Bye.
Problemas de relaciones interpersonales, separación, divorcio, problemas con niños, adolescentes y adultos.
Soy la doctora Yolanda Montoya, soy Clinical Counselor y mi teléfono es el 604-861-1071.
Swaziland has a wide range of accommodation to suit everyone's taste and budget. There are 5-star hotels, luxury safari camps, traditional rondavel huts, or you can simply camp in glorious landscapes.
I'll be leaving here with a heavy heart. This is my first time, but definitely not my last time. Definitely.
Wherever you stay, or whatever you do, you'll fall in love with Swaziland.